So it's now official. Tokyo 2020 will not happen this year. It will be in 2021. Now, if you are an Olympian, if you are an athlete, whether you have already qualified for the games or you are in the process of qualifying, maybe you are a coach and you are training teams or athletes towards this goal. Perhaps you are part of the entourage and you get a hold of this video. Maybe you are working for the National Olympic Committee, international federations, or national federations or associations. Please, I want you to forward this 10-minute video to any of the athletes that you impact with your work, because it's important, as this recent announcement has come officially from the IOC. Tokyo is moving as Olympic Games to next year. Yes, we know that it's a paramount effort, not only logistically, in administration, financially, socially, and emotionally. We know that it's going to take a toll across the board. Now, this video is exactly for those athletes who just got the official news just yesterday, and I want you to please send it, because it's going to shine some light into what's about to come in the next 6 phases that are going to develop for themselves and within the next 12 or so months to come, because we are going to be seeing each other in Tokyo. It's going to happen, but I don't want them to underestimate the phases in which they are going to go through. And by the way, these phases happen not only for organizers, but thoroughly for our athletes, for their coaches, their families and friends, because they know what they have put for work, energy and sacrifice for years to make it happen in this year. So I want you to please share this with them. So I'm going to shine some light there. Who am I? Gabriela Müller-Mendoza, communications coach, trainer, international speaker, and I have had the honor to serve as part of the leadership coaches and trainers that work with athletes and Olympians and leaders in the Olympic movement for now 12 years. I've been a coach for 18, and 12 of those have been really with the Olympic movement across the globe. And not only have I empowered leaders, but also teams, Olympians, coaches, referees, you name it. I've been there, so I know the type of sacrifices that our athletes put out of their lives to make it happen. And this is why it's paramount important that you would forward this video to them. All right. So it's going to be 6 phases. We call it HAD-BAT because it's actually an acronym that you are going to be able to remember, right? And I know it doesn't sound very romantic, though it represents every letter for each of the phases that you are about to go through. Now, it reads HAD-BAT, except that there is a little arrow there. It actually happens from the bottom up, okay? So the first phase is going to be, and I'm going to explain all this in detail, denial. Second, anger, bargaining. Then there is a new set of phases, depression, acceptance, and hope. So I'm going to walk you through these phases, and I'm going to give you not only a little bit of time frames that you can expect, but also how you can move forward out of the phase so that you can actually thrive as you continue to pursue your Olympic dream. Okay, the first phase, it hasn't actually lasted that long, though we have been in the midst of this uncertainty for weeks. There is a little bit of denial. There were news, there were rumors this was going to happen. The coronavirus, COVID-19, has put a global pandemic situation in the world out there that has made life completely different across the world. I'm sitting here in Central European country and it's pretty much a lockdown. So I'm improvising this little video for you because everybody has been coming to me because they know that I work with Olympians and athletes around the world, and we don't want our athletes and our Olympians to really fall into one of these phases without feeling hope or without feeling empowered. And I just want to bring some lights and to give you some of the phases, okay? Denial. Not only is when you think that you're going to be very surprised and you think, well, you know, I'm not going to be affected by it. Okay, so the first one, denial. Now, denial as a first phase doesn't really last a lot, except that in this particular situation, we have been in the midst of uncertainty for a while, for a couple of weeks, if not months, and now the situation is clear. For some of you, I'm talking right now to athletes and Olympians, you may think that you're going to move very forward fastly, you're going to accelerate and say, yeah, okay, get it. In fact, it's almost a relief. We're ready. I'm really looking forward to 2021. I'm moving on. And I don't want to disregard this positivism and proactive attitude, except that what we do see in leadership and throughout now 18 years of communication coaching is that inevitably, this is, even though you're very positive, you will experience at some point any of the other 5 phases, right? For some of you who were completely surprised by this decision, and I have been talking to some of you, this doesn't last a lot. It's usually denial. It takes only a few days because reality hits you. And then the second phase happens. Then it's called anger. Anger and frustration. There is a mix of feelings that are not necessarily positive, though they are necessary. And one of the tips that I have to give you here is, instead of just trying to suppress these feelings and these emotions, I would like you to get in touch with them in a way that is still proactive. Sure, and I know that you are right now probably sitting in a place where you are, like all of us, in lockdown. Though, how can you get your anger out, whether it's training at home, whether it's breathing deeply, whether it's simply mentioning and articulating the emotion and talking to somebody about it, right? Because what we don't want to do in this phase is either to ignore it, to imploit, meaning you don't exploit to the outside, but really take it in and swallow your feelings and emotions. It's really not going to work because it accumulates and it's going to take a toll somewhere else. So what you want to do is you want to acknowledge. And by the way, these 6 phases, it's not that you leave one and you never come back to that phase. It's that you leave one, you move forward, and then one day something happens and you have a feeling you go back in the process. So no, there is nothing wrong with feeling angry, sad, frustrated, irritated, very upset at points, and it is all part of the process, right? So instead of not acknowledging, name the emotion. So this is where emotional intelligence comes really handy, right? Name the emotion, because if you don't name it, it's going to control your day, your week, and you really don't want to stay in this stage, though it is necessary and it's part of the process. So if you feel it, please don't feel that you're alone. It is part of the 6 phases, right? The third phase is a B in the acronym. Remember, had bad, that's the B, because it's a series of decisions and it's characterized by this ambivalent feeling of you don't know if you're doing the right thing or not. You don't know if you can hold for next year, or is it worth it? It is an enormous amount of effort. I don't know if I can make it. I did it for 2020. Can I do it for 21? I'm 1 year older, or I'm maybe not qualified. It's going to be tougher. And the inner critic starts having these conversations with you. It's kind of a negotiation process. You can imagine it of I can, I cannot. I can, I cannot. And this is an internal bargaining process that you're going to go through in your mind, and it's normal. And here's the one thing that it is important to remember here. Here, I want you to get in touch with people that can support you. Not only part of you, your coach, your entourage, but also friends and family who believe in you. At this point, what I would like you to also do is a list of previous accomplishments. This is a list of things that will, in deep moments, will remind you how incredibly unique and awesome you are, and everything that you have accomplished until now. And by the way, this is where, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, this is going to probably be one of these phases where you're going to have deep conversations with your inner critic, or imposter syndrome, which is nothing else than minimizing your accomplishments and your milestones, those that you have achieved with so much hard work and effort. So here is an important thing. In this internal conversation, you need one, friends, family, support, but also you need a friendly voice inside. Yes, what I'm talking about is your inner critic sometimes will talk to you in this bargaining process, try to get you away from your dream, in kind of like a mean voice, reminding you of things or your shortcomings. And here's what I want you to do to compensate this. The moment you start feeling that this is hitting, I want you to get in touch with your inner friendly voice. You know, the type of voice that you would use for a friend in need, for a friend who in front of you would have the same situation, and you would tell them, hey, you can do it. Of course you are great. Of course you can do this. I know that you can continue. I know that you can give more. So when you have this inner battle, you're going to have to compensate with your inner friendly voice, with everything around you, the support system that you have built for years, your NOC, your National Olympic Committee, your coaches, your entourage, your friends, anybody who has been going with you in that journey. Please do not isolate yourself in this phase. This is not very healthy. Now, this phase here. I know, even if you have a growth mindset, even if you are a positive oriented people, even if you are action oriented, you may at some point identify that you have low moments. Now, if this is just a bad day, a bad week, nothing to be worried about. It's part of the process. Though, if there are two things that you might observe in this phase, one is timing. If it's recurrent and every time you get into this dark space where everything is negative and low and you don't feel like you have energy to go training, to get out of bed, to go and really do the routines and get ready and look for your milestone and continue progress as an athlete, you are going to start thinking, I cannot do it. And this could be a negative spiral that can go down, and it increasingly becomes stronger and deeper. And so here's what I want you to observe. First, if it's recurrent, how long it lasts. And second, if it's characterized by the excess of different things. Too much of something, right? Too much of anything that you normally don't do. Too much sleeping, eating, drinking, gambling, smoking, even too much training. I know it sounds a bit paradox, but when people, whatever they take that normally would not take them away from reality, but they start doing it because they want to detach themselves from the present situation. And it's a behavior that is not getting them anywhere else, and it's not really getting them closer to their dreams. But it's just something that they're doing more and more and more. They cannot control their attention. And even, for example, a factor here is social media. If you're doing way too much of news and social media, it's a sort of numbing in this phase of depression. So here's what I want you to do. You are going to ask for help, because for the most part, out of this phase, just by bargaining, but here is even more important, that you would call for help, whether it's professional help, whether it's your coach, whether it's therapy, whether it's a good friend. Get out of that cycle. And I know what I'm asking you to do is controlling your attention. This is very crucial. Most of the athletes that I know would not necessarily feel that they could be subject to something like this. But you will be surprised that some of the statistics show that actually depressed athletes are part of a very large group as well. So we don't want you to stay there, because anyway, the Olympic Games will happen and we will go stronger out of this. So what's important in this phase is to start looking at there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I loved the analogy that President Thomas Bach made about the Olympic flame. It's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. This is important for us, all of us, to remember, not only in the sports world, but as humanity. Good news is that there are two more phases. Phase number 5 is characterized with the A in the HADBAT acronym, acceptance. This is where you finally start saying, okay, good. Emotionally, mentally, and physically, I accept. It is what it is. It's now clear. There is clarity, there is certainty. Now there is going to be a new date. And so when the new day comes, and this is paramount important, you are going to, again, have your visualization board, have in your calendar, you're going to go towards it. Though in acceptance, we focused in being proactive today. Not tomorrow, not next month. At least we know that we accept it is what it is. It happened, and let's move forward. This is gonna, if I had to describe it, is this where you fall, you get up, you dust off, and you decide to move on. In that moment of acceptance, that's phase number 5. And it's usually characterized by behavior that is more proactive. You go back to the track, to the court, to the pool, to the gym. And I know that right now we're limited in movement, but it's going to change. And you'll go back with the energy that called you for the first time to be an athlete and definitely an Olympian. So I want you to know that this is phase number 5 and it's coming. People meet these phases in different timing, though I wouldn't actually expect it to be so tremendously fast because we're still in this process everywhere in the world, right? Finally, there is the last one. It's hope. And hope, it's characterized for the fact that we look to the future. We do have, again, our eyes put in the tomorrow, next month, next year. And there is a sense of energy, inspiration, inner strength that I know that you have because you are in sports, because you are an athlete, because you are an Olympian, and I know it's in you. That flame comes back again and you say, I'll move forward. And I know that a lot of you in social media, because you have approached me, because I follow you also in social media, I know that a lot of you are already putting out inspirational thoughts for everybody as the good leaders and role models that you are, putting words of hope. Internally though, this process might take a bit longer, and it's okay. It's okay. Even there are going to be months where you feel already in acceptance and hope, and something happens, and you go back in what we would say this 6-phase process. Don't worry, because every time you go back, you'll stay less in those stages. You'll move forward, and not only that, you'll be the ambassador of change and inspiration for others. Because I know at the end of the day that as an athlete and as an Olympian, you are a change agent in society. You are an inspiration, you are a role model, you are a leader in whatever your platform may be in your sport. Things that I want to leave you with, because based on research, there are a lot of things that resilience people do. But in this case, I chose 3 golden nuggets for you as Olympians and as an athlete, because I want you to do more of this so that you can move forward in this process, not fastly, but in a healthy way, in an accepting way, in a self-caring way, so that you don't push yourself. You are anyway under pressure for so many other different factors. So now, resilient people, 1, is they are self-aware of their emotions. I want you to be very brutally honest with yourself. In which phase are you today? Which phase will you be next month? And every time you feel frustrated, sad, irritated, despair, in whatever of those feelings, please name the emotions, take the steps that you need to, call for help, do whatever it's according to each of these phases that I just explained, and you'll move forward successfully. So number 2, resilient people choose carefully where they put their attention. Yes, I know, and I used to think that it would actually be longer periods of time in which you have the choice. But guess what? Based on research, there is usually a 5-second window between the moment there is an impulse and something happens until you take action. Meaning, if you're going to start, for example, going down the spiral of negativity, in despair, sadness, irritation, any of those, being too upset, being too, why me, why now? You start that process. I want you to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exactly. You can Google it. This is the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. And it is effective because it interrupts the process in which you are going to fall into negative states of mind that are not going to be good for you, and they're going to stop you and really getting you very slow in the process to move all the way from denial all the way to hope, okay? So I want you to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to count from 5 to 1, and you're going to take action. You're going to move. You're going to start thinking something else. You're going to start calling a friend. You're going to ask for help. You're going to stop scrolling down your screen or you're doing in social media news. Whatever it is, you're going to interrupt the process and focus your attention, because that's what you've got. The freedom that you've got is your mindset, the decisions, your thoughts, and where you go to your attention. So I want you to be very, very aware of this in this process as you move forward. And finally, resilient people tune into the good and are grateful. So it has been, again, based on research. This is something important. At the end of the day, regardless of how despair you might feel, regardless of what's going on, the craziness and the madness in the world, I bet there are things that you have in your life and in your career as an athlete and as an Olympian that you can be every day grateful for. Look for the good, because that's where you are going to be cultivating this growth mindset that you so much need in order to move forward in these phases, okay? So I leave you with those. And finally, I do have an announcement to make. I said it at the beginning, which is I'm going to be working with Olympians and athletes as they move forward in this next year, and also all the different organizations I work thoroughly with, international federations, national Olympic committees. These, and you might see at the bottom of the video, you might see the different also channels. But there is one thing, I'm going to be launching a complete free webinar for athletes and Olympians who are going towards Tokyo 2020/21. You'll know that the games will remain being called Tokyo 2020, but we know that it's going to happen at some point in 2021. All right, so you'll want to send me an email to info@gabrielamuller.com. Gabriela Muller for any of the other platforms. You can check out any of that. If you live in Instagram, Coach Gabriela Muller, YouTube, there is a lot of content there. If you're into podcasting, especially if you are a female athlete, you want to check out the Smart Woman podcast on Spotify and any of those channels. My book, you just Google me, is in Amazon, How to Be a Smart Woman in STEM Fields. And Twitter, Gabriela Muller. TikTok, yes, a lot of you are in TikTok and I already follow you. Coach Gabriela Muller, Gabriela Muller Coaching, and Gabriela Muller Mendoza in LinkedIn. In any of those platforms, please do approach me. And I know I travel around the world right now, though I'm locally supporting from Switzerland the Olympic movement, and I'm so, so happy to be here with you, because my friend, you and I are going to be seeing each other at some point in Tokyo 2021. This shall pass. All right, so I see you there. Let's connect. GabrielaMuller.com.